What's up, Meta Nerds? This video is all about the canon and Legends history of the Millennium Falcon, so that we can know the canon events that led up to the Solo movie, and understand its Legends history to see what was kept or referenced in the new film. We'll start off with its canon history, where this ship started off as a YT-1300F light freighter, with an identification number YT-492727ZED, and was produced around 90 years before the Cold War era, which is around 85 BBY. It was manufactured by Corellian Engineering Corporation, the same company that made the VCX-100 light freighter. It was used on an orbital shipyard as a sort of tugboat that moved shipping containers around in space, and without planetary effects on the ship, the YT-1300 could use its powerful engines to move cargo units that were so enormous that they dwarfed the future Falcon. It is unknown who flew the ship to a docking station in the Senate office building shortly after the Battle of Coruscant, and it is also unclear who named it the Millennium Falcon, but it eventually fell into the hands of Lando Calrissian, most likely through gambling, though he was already setting up lucrative mining operations, so it might have just been purchased with these profits. Han Solo, a native of Corellia, would win the ship from Lando in a game of Corellian Spike, a modified version of the card game Sabacc. During Lando's ownership, he upgraded it inside and out, giving this old cargo ship a more luxurious feel. Although the actual purpose of this unit being held by the Mandibles is going to be explained in the film, it is likely that this also reflects Lando's flashy lifestyle, as it could act as an extra party room, since we know from previous cross-sections that there was already a door here so that you could access what would normally be a storage unit. People love to freak out online, but this look was inspired by early Ralph McQuarrie concept art, made for the original trilogy, and it makes total sense given the fact that Corellian Engineering Corporation built their ships with seamless modular customization in mind, like the way the Phantom could integrate into the Ghost, and how in Legends there were multiple forms of this ship, like the YT-1300F for freight, and the 1300P for carrying more passengers. But since those configurations were seen in Legends, let's go ahead and talk about its original backstory, so that we can know what changes in future material. In Legends, it still had the number 492727ZED, but was said to have been built in 60 BBY, not 85 BBY. It was still manufactured by Corellian Engineering Corporation, and was first sold to Corel Industries Limited as a ship of their enormous fleet of cargo transporting vessels. In this function, it served as a company-owned big rig, transporting cargo to the many colonies, cities, and space stations throughout the Corellian system. This company went bankrupt in 48 BBY, and over its 12-year period, it got the name Corel's Pride, Fickle Flyer, and Meadle's Misery. In the resulting auction, it was sold to other shippers and smugglers, getting renamed to Jackpot, then Hardwired, where it started to be used in its first illegal function, moving drugs and stolen goods from the Corellian system to the core. It was owned at this time by brothers Cal and Dova Brigger, and after Dova's death at the hands of the Smugglers' Confederation, Cal renamed this ship the Wayward Son. He would use this ship in the transportation of goods for the commercial combine, until he was eaten by a giant, flying bioluminescent bug on the planet Troikan in 44 BBY. There is a gap in its history that brings us up to 29 BBY, when it was purchased by the secretive organization known as the Republic Group, which was run by both members of the Jedi Order and the Galactic Senate. Ta Jeddak and Reese Durmun were appointed as its crew, and the ship was renamed to the Stellar Envoy. This pair traveled across the galaxy and upgraded the hyperdrive and long-range communication devices. When they were on the planet Ongari 9, the CIS invaded in search of Ephredium, a rare mineral essential for building starships. Here they picked up a defector from the Avidial Sector forces, who left because of Command's ridiculous solution to damage that was happening to their pilots' eyes, issuing them opaque blast shields that they were supposed to flip down after dropping their plasma-burrowing payloads, which protected their eyes, but forced them to fly their ships blind. He threw this in a storage area on the Stellar Envoy, and it was this helmet that Obi-Wan would later use to get Luke to reach out and feel the Force to block the shots from the training droid. Later, this ship was in a catastrophic accident with a bulk freighter named Gendarian Valley 3, which caused the death of Durmun and put Jeddak in a 6-year concussion, leaving the ship floating over Nar Shaddaa. Finally, a technician named Bammy Decree, who was acting as a scout for a wealthy crime lord, identified the old beat-up 1300 and several other ships that were left for junk as those that could possibly be restored and sold for a profit. Decree upgraded this ship from core to hull, and it became something as a dream assignment for the passionate mechanic who was able to build this ship from the ground up, working in both original and aftermarket YT-1300 parts. He then consulted with the famous Lyra Wessex, who designed the Imperial Star Destroyers, and once it was finished, it was renamed the Second Chance, and only served on one smuggling mission before being captured by Imperial agents. It was stuck on an impound lot before being liberated by Rebel agents, who renamed it Gone to Pieces, and then when it started flying missions for the Rebel Alliance, it was finally named the Millennium Falcon, after an infamous Bat Falcon by the ship's pilot, Quip Fargle. He used this ship during a Rebel strike in 9 BBY, but he abandoned the operation and couldn't live with the guilt of being a deserter, so he donated the ship to Dr. Parley Thorpe. The doctor was able to pay off some debts to selling it to Mypole's Traveling Circus. This brought it into the hands of Six Trovee, who would have a few run-ins with Imperial forces, before he betted this ship on a hand of Sabacc with a confident young gambler named Lando Calrissian. Lando, of course, would make his own modifications before losing the ship to Han Solo, who solidified the Millennium Falcon's place in galactic history. And of course, the transition from Lando to Han will be a big part of the new Han Solo movie. So let's see what they keep and what they changed. But most important of all, remember, obscure lore is less important than a great story, and the Force will be with you always.